pulled up to the Browns Stadium in his custom-made Rolls-Royce. The Rolls-Royce emblem was swapped out for his iconic catch.
Why are you shaking your head,
in
Jenna?
2015. Is that outdoors or indoors?
Well, that's in the stadium. It's like, but why are you shaking your head?
How?
What? Tell me.
How else is he playing this year? Does he need with all the flash?
So he shouldn't drive. So what? He should go in a 1992 Ford Festiva.
Nothing wrong with a Ford Festiva.
Okay, he's a young, rich, famous person who bought an orange car to celebrate his orange team.
They're ready to be a rat.
I'm actually okay with the Rolls-Royce. Of all the
coach.
I'm okay with the Rolls-Royce. Look, it's fine. He's earned a great living, and that you want to go buy a Rolls-Royce, fine. As long as you come in and play football and leave all that other stuff, you can drive up in whatever you want.
If we ran that back, I wonder if you could see inside the windshield. I wonder if he has one of those fraudulent "you can park anywhere" tags, Jenna Wolf.
No,
that allows her to park anywhere. Oh, can we see it? Does he need that?
That is not what she has.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, listen. Google New York One parking scandal, America, and understand that she is. Oh, you're gonna throw shade at my guy.
Let's move on and talk.
I'm not even dry snitching.
I've changed my mind. Love the Rolls Royce. Love the Royce.
Yeah.
Gotta get me one.
Yeah.
On to
New York City
Carson Wentz. Carson had a day to forget against the Seahawks. The Eagles quarterback finished with 2 interceptions and 2 lost fumbles, and to make matters worse, he suffered an injury to his throwing hand. X-rays were negative, but he will have additional tests to rule out any potential issues. Seahawks win, which means the Eagles lose. 17-9 was the final. Philly now 5-6 in the NFC East. Here's Carson Wentz after the game.
I have to, be better. I have to lead this team better. I got to protect the football better. We can't put it on the ground the way we did. And it starts with me. And I'm frustrated. I know everyone's frustrated with this loss offensively. I mean, like I said, turning the ball over starts with me. I got to be better, and we will be.
Nick, is it starting to look like Carson Wentz isn't the quarterback Philly thought he was?
He's starting to look like he's not the quarterback I thought he was, and certainly would appear not the quarterback Philly thought he was when they gave him that contract extension. And this is where I have to turn to you and give Coach Mangini tremendous credit for a holistic, not just about Carson Wentz, but general opinion of, we anoint these guys too early. What he did in year 2 was very impressive. Would like to see him in different circumstances. Would like to see him when adversity hits. Would like to see him in the playoffs, which is something we haven't seen yet from Carson Wentz. And this year we might not see it given how he's played and how the team's played. Because much like I thought with Baker after year 1, and Baker I'm still holding on hope to, and I thought with Carson Wentz after year 2, well, these are foundational franchise quarterbacks that are going to be playing top 10 in the league for a decade plus. Like, I saw them do it this early in their career. Why would they go backwards? And Carson Wentz has clearly gone backwards in everything. Last year, I said, you know what? Sometimes even Brady, the year after the ACL, that was 2008 was the worst year he had for the better part of the next decade. And I think a lot of it was because he was not fully himself a year removed from the knee injury. Well, that was last year for Carson Wentz. He's now well more than a year removed from the knee injury. And he has been bad by any measure. And I understand that the Eagles have had other things working against them, but one of the things working against them is the best player on their team has not, the guy who's supposed to be the best player on their team has not played like it. And you're about to have a sample size of Carson Wentz bad football that equals the sample size of Carson Wentz MVP level football.
And what happens with quarterbacks is you have to see him in all the different situations. You've got to see him in a playoff type situation, which we hadn't seen Carson. How do they handle adversity? Are they able to help pull the team out of it, or is it something that sends them into a spiral? The other issue with Carson has always been injury. So last year he was 5-6 when he got injured. Now he's 5-6 and he's injured again. Can he actually last throughout the course of the season? And the dynamic in the locker room, and we go back to this all the time because of how adamant they were that they had a style in Philadelphia that could be successful year in and year out without the same grind that you see in New England. And there was that mocking of New England for their approach and their work ethic and the seriousness with which they took every game, and it wasn't fun. And I can tell you this environment is not fun, and that's okay. They can work through this, they can push through this, but it's not going to come from pointing blame. It's going to come from taking accountability, taking a step back, and figuring out, okay, where do we go from here?
I just see a team that has ran out of moves, right? You talk about a team that's been super transactional, right? That's, they use their draft equity, they spend a lot of money, they guarantee money, move money and play the salary cap game, and they just ran out of moves. Now you look at this roster, who's he throwing to? Alshon Jeffries is hurt, Deshaun Jackson isn't available, Darren Sproles is done for the year. So now they don't have guys that can win in elite spaces. You got guys that really can't like create space for themselves. So when I'm looking at the film, I'm looking at Carson Wentz dropping back and he's having to eat the ball because guys just aren't getting open. So, I mean, you can blame him a little bit, but every quarterback's going to struggle when you're getting pressure from the defensive line without the Jadeveon Clowney. You look at Ziggy Ansah, had 1.5 sacks, and he had to eat the ball. I think they have to do a better job in trying to find an answer. That's why we hear them rumored with Antonio Brown, because of the fact that they need somebody that can win at the line of scrimmage that doesn't have to be set up by play design or trickery or anything like that.
I don't think you can just brush off the fact that he has no one to throw to and no one's running the ball and 2 of his offensive linemen are down. I understand
that's a factor against a good football
I understand,
team.
And a lot of quarterbacks are decimated with injuries on that offense, but he really hasn't had anyone to throw to besides Zach Ertz the whole season. Yeah,
neither is Russell Wilson. He's playing like an MVP candidate. I mean, we can't do this with guys we like and guys we don't.
Are we putting him in Russell Wilson's class? Because
we did this with Dak Prescott, that we didn't know who Prescott was until they got Amari Cooper. I mean, can you say the same thing about Carson Wentz?
Right. Well, okay, but if you are, and again, I'm going to steal from Coach again, if you are someone that can only play well, if you have elite talent around you, then you are not the guy you were made out to be.
Didn't we see Aaron Rodgers struggle last year?
Aaron Rodgers, absolutely, and I think that was, and Aaron Rodgers was terrible last night after being great thus far this season, but Aaron Rodgers, to me, had 2 things going for him. 1, he had a decade of success that made last year seem like an outlier. 2, he got injured in the very first game of the year, which clearly helped affect him the next 6 weeks, and I'll add a 3rd one. To me, that got placed on Mike McCarthy fairly, that scheme had run stale. But we have seen the best quarterbacks in football do not need elite weapons all over the field. And again, you might need elite weapons all over the field if you want to have numbers similar to Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, as great as Mahomes is, part of what helps him is all those weapons. But Carson Wentz right now is 30th in the league in yards per attempt. He's 20th in passer rating. He's 21st in completion percentage. He's 22nd in yards per game. He is behind all those guys have been benched this year. And so, like, it can't, if he were just having, an average season, then you'd say, okay, if he had the weapons, he would be having a really good season. But he's having a terrible season.
And let's just start with the 4 turnovers. Just start there. So don't even go make a ton of plays. Just don't be responsible for 4 turnovers, because you've got pretty much 0 chance of winning a game when you have that many turnovers. And in terms of him being a force multiplier, that's the hope. When you pay these guys these gigantic contracts, you're hoping that they can take a N'Keal Harry and make him better. You're hoping that when you've got to play another rookie wide receiver and he can go in and have 4 catches, or whoever's in the game, you can get the most out of him by what you do. And if you have to constantly support these guys with elite talent, they're probably not worth an elite contract. Those other guys that are supporting him are worth the elite contracts.
Except Dak Prescott needed the elite talent to
because
warrant
he ain't
his,
great either.
But he's going to make more money than anyone else in the league as a quarterback.
Because the quarterback money's gone crazy. But the argument of, well, but Dak needed it too, I don't think it's a great argument, just because I don't think Dak is one of these, as great as he's been this year, I don't think he's one of these top flight, gotta pay $35 million quarterbacks.
Only like 4 of those in the league, though.